Chapter 3, verses 6 to 15. कर्मेन्द्रियाधिकं यम्य यहाते मनसा स्मरन् इन्द्रियार्थान्विमूढात्मा मिथ्याचारश्च उच्यते यस्मिन्द्रियाणि मनसा नियम्यारभते अर्जुन कर्मेन्द्रियै कर्मयोगम् असक्तस्य विशिष्यते नियतं कुरु कर्म त्वं कर्म ज्यायो ह्यकर्मणः शरीरयात्रा विचते न प्रसिद्ध्येद कर्मणः यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणोऽन्यत्र लोकोऽयं कर्मबन्धनः तदर्थं कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्तसङ्गः समाचर सह यज्ञा प्रजा सृष्टा पुरोवाच प्रजापतिः अनेन प्रसदिष्यध्वम् एष वोशिष्टकामधो देवान् भावयतानेन ते देवा भावयन्तु वः परस्परं भावयन्तः श्रेयः परमवाप्यथ इष्टान् भोगान् हि वो देवाः धास्यन्ते यज्ञभाविताः तैर्दत्तानः प्रदायैर्यः यो भुङ्क्ते तेन एव सः यज्ञशिष्टाशिनः सन्तः मुच्यन्ते सर्वकिल्बिषैः भुञ्जते ते स्वकं पापाः ये पचन्त्यात्मकारणात् अन्नात् भवन्ति भूतानि पर्जन्यादन्न सम्भवः यज्ञात् भवति पर्जन्यः यज्ञकर्मसमुद्भवः कर्म ब्रह्मोद्भवं विद्धि ब्रह्माक्षरसमुद्भवम् तस्मात् सर्वगतं ब्रह्म नित्यं यज्ञे प्रतिष्ठितम्.
A middle path between the extremes of indulgence and suppression is what verse number 7. Middle path is that which is very relevant in the sense how to handle the problem of the desires. The Shastras addresses the problem of annihilating the desires, eliminating the desires. The layperson doesn't understand that desires are a problem in the first place. Since the problem itself is not clearly understood, the solution that they give doesn't really appeal. Or you don't see desires as a problem in the first place. So, how does one handle this problem of desires? How does one function in a way that he is no more a victim of desires? How does one do that? He gives the middle path as the middle path is given as a technique. In the ultimate sense, it is elimination of all desires. He is not discussing in that ultimate sense. In the ultimate sense, he is going to talk about in the next few verses. First thing he says is, a person who is fully indulgent in the world, to tell him about God, to tell him about moksha, has no meaning. For moksha is not a solution to your worldly problems. Liberation is not a solution for your mundane worldly problems. So much of mundane problems are there, so much of worldly problems are there. Moksha is a solution for you. Liberation is a solution for your worldly problems. That's why no one will want liberation. For first of all, there is a problem. Second thing is, the solution that you bring in is not something that actually solves it. People with this mindset, you can't straight away tell them, aspire for moksha, liberation. Aspire for, even in a classroom like this, average is minimum. I am talking about in an average. If you take the association of the people here, average is about 15 years. 15-20 years is the average association that people has with this knowledge in a classroom like this. Still not yet convinced that desires are the problem. To an extent where anyone here can give a 1 hour 15 minutes non-stop discourse. It's not difficult at all. It's not that difficult to give a 1 hour 15 minutes non-stop discourse like this. The conviction that desires are a problem. It needs a lot of maturity to understand that. It needs a lot of conviction to understand that. Carefully follow. Lot of tapas is required to understand it. Even to realize that desires are a problem. Now here he is talking about a state where the person has not yet understood desires as a problem. Now what do you do to that person? How do you help that person? He says follow middle path. At least follow the middle path, instead of following the path of extremes. To some extent follow the middle path and slowly mature into whatever he is going to say later. Indulgence itself will make you to avoid something after a while. The very avoidance itself will create a craving for indulgence. Again I repeat, this is how the mind works. The continuous contact itself creates a kind of boredom in you which will make you to abstain, which will want you to abstain for a while. And the very abstinence itself will create a craving for the next indulgence. So for all practical purposes, what is it that is actually happening? The constant shift between indulgence and suppression, indulgence and abstinence. indulgence and abstinence. The very overeating itself, like supposing there are 3-day functions, 4-day functions, every day all are done. 5th day in the home everyone decides we will have only pepper rasam. Only pepper rasam today. Why? 4 days of indulgences itself takes you to that. Now, it's not that on the 5th day they are practicing any control. For the very nature of indulgence itself takes the person there. And the nature of abstinence itself creates a craving for 3 days. Have only pepper rasam, not anything else. See, the assumption here is your stomach is alright, your tongue is alright and all that. Your tongue has not known what taste is, stomach has no capacity, then there is no, forget about indulgence or abstinence. Nothing will work. Here the assumption is the senses are working, the senses are vital, and still you are able to, you practice what is known as the middle path. When you practice middle path like this, the possibility is to realize that how much you are a victim of the senses. How much you are a victim of the senses. Normally, no human being believes that he is a victim of senses. To say that you are a victim of senses makes you look like a teenager, makes you look like a person of a very people at 10 and 15 will be a victim of senses. At our age, no way that we can be a victim of the senses. So whenever we talk about senses, the mind goes towards whom? Whenever we talk about senses, indulgences, straight away the thought, the mind goes to children, grandchildren, depending on the lower only. For it is straight away understood that senses are under control. All that we want is to control the mind. To control the senses alone, control it's under control already. Let us control the mind. You don't know that the mind is hiding through the senses. You can't segregate it. Mind is hidden inside the senses. Directly you can never encounter the mind. When you start encountering the senses, you can encounter the mind. But the general belief is senses are under control already. Why? There is the fallacy in thinking. That's why knowledge is very, very, very important. There is a fundamental fallacy in every human being's thinking. The fundamental fallacy is to be carried away by the appearance. You see something and you get carried away by what you see. It's a paradox of appearances. There's a beautiful book written by the Western philosopher, Appearance and Reality. The title of the book itself is Appearance and Reality. We have been talking about this, the Upanishads have been talking about this for thousands and thousands of years, and still the human being goes through this fallacy. Intellect is necessary because to break through this fallacy. If that intellect is not there, the human being will not be able to recognize this fallacy. What is the fallacy? The fallacy of the paradox. The paradox of appearances. What is the paradox of appearances? You chase the world. The mind is chasing the world. The mind is running behind the world. For what? It's appearing that it is going to give happiness. But where it ends up? It ends up in misery and suffering. Now, if only you can understand in that happiness, misery is hidden. Why will a person chase? The fact that the person is chasing because the appearance is happiness straight away. There is no doubt at all. Shankaracharya can say what he wants to say, Buddha can say what he wants to say, Krishna can say what he wants to say, but the mind still says happiness is in the world. It chases the world because it appears to give happiness, and what is hidden behind this happiness is misery. What is hidden inside that is misery. Paradox of appearances. Paradox of appearances means you see everything upside down. One of the Upanishads, very, very old Upanishads, known as Chandogya Upanishad, gives this example. Beautiful example it gives. There is a lake, clear, still water. On the banks of the lake is a tree. There is a tree at the banks of the lakes, and the lake is full, clear water. You see the tree reflected. If you have heard this example, now don't give the answer. You see the tree. How do you see the tree? Don't say clear. How would you see the tree? Upside down you will see. In the normal tree, roots are below, branches are above. That's a normal tree. In the ulta tree, how it appears? The roots above, branches below. That's where in the 15th chapter he says, Urdhva Moolam Adashakam Ashwattam. You see everything. You see which tree has roots above and branches below. No tree is there. But then you see the tree. This is known as a paradox of appearances. It only gives that example. It doesn't say anything further. Otherwise, you have to spin your own stories out of this. You have to create your own stories out of it. He doesn't say explanation. He doesn't give. He only says, look at the tree. You see the tree upside down. Roots above, branches below. You are seeing the tree. You are seeing the tree upside down. Intellect is required to reverse it and see it properly. Able to follow? Example varakum it's easy. Translate it into life, everything fits under this paradox. If you translate this into life, every aspect of life fits under this paradox. As a solution, till now, are you okay? As a solution, they came out with something even more fantastic. Are you able to see how the vision is ulta first? Only if you understand how the vision is ulta, the solution they gave will be so inspiring. The solution they gave, they say reverse it. The scientific technique. Court happiness and you ended up in misery. Very few had the courage. Let us court misery and see what happens. Are you able to follow? Again I repeat. You court happiness. Where did you end up? Misery. A few said, reverse it. Let us court misery and see what happens. They ended up in bliss. They ended up in happiness. That courting misery is what they called as tapas. That is what is known as tapas. When everything around you is all right, your senses are all right, food is also there, you are hungry, still you say, no, it is miserable, correct? It is painful, it is miserable, it's not, there is no joy in it. But something wonderful comes out of it. What comes out of it? The senses becomes under your control, the mind is under your control, you enjoy bliss. You chase bliss and you ended up in misery. Reverse it. Everything they did ulta, or we are doing ulta. They said, don't chase philosophy at 60. Chase philosophy at, teach philosophy at 7 or 8. Ulta, everything. See, we can't say they did ulta. We became ulta. You follow that? And the people ask, how can philosophy be understood? Okay, at 60 you are so wise. Have you understood? Reverse it. See, it needs that boldness, that courage to experiment. All this knowledge came out of such people who had this courage, who have this boldness to experiment with something which is so completely opposite. In fact, growth happens only when you refuse to. Growth happens only when you refuse to. Only when you refuse to disagree with what you see. The moment you agree with what you see, growth doesn't happen. That's the fundamental principle behind growth itself. Very poetically, in every discourse, he puts it as, never take things for granted. Never take things for granted. Never take things for granted. What does it mean? You see something, it's so obvious, there is no need to. What will drive a human being to experiment with the opposite? Even to think the opposite, to reverse it. You follow? Simple example I'll give you, will understand. You are sitting in the same place, you are not moving, nothing around you is moving, everything is so stationary, fixed, and it is so clear that it is the sun that is moving. How on earth you can even get a doubt that maybe the sun is stationary and you are moving? That's penetrating capacity. That's what he says. Not to take things for granted. At the worldly level, you can understand this example. Don't use it at the worldly level. Extend it to the growth. What is growth? You chase the world because it appears to give you happiness. That's why you chase. Misery is when you experience disappointment. You chase with the hope of happiness and you end up experiencing something else, that disappointment is what is known as misery. No? So, you chase happiness, and what do you end up experiencing? Misery. Reverse it. Chase misery. Instead of being incapacitated and being in poverty, when you have all the strength and wisdom and courage, choose to live a life of poverty and see what happens. That's what they did as. That's what is known as tapas. You follow? It's not an incapacitated person living in poverty. So, that much of boldness is required to, that much of strength, that much of conviction, that much of boldness is required to reverse the process. That's why we say Vedanta is a scientific knowledge. This tapas is a scientific experiment. It's not some weird group Saturn said something and we are mechanically, emotionally attached to this knowledge and we are continuing to. It's so wonderful in experimentation. What is that? Resolving the paradox of appearances. That's the question between appearance and reality. What it appears to you is not real. Reality doesn't has no change. It doesn't appear at all. Simple example. Today, konja metaphysical example. At one point of time, the physical body was a cell, a small cell. We are all having this physical body. At one point of time, this body was a cell. In that cell also, you are present. In that cell also, you are there in that cell, correct? Who is that you is what you have to inquire. In that cell also you are there. Now, the cell disappeared and rudimentary ears, rudimentary nose, rudimentary mouth started forming. Still you are there in that. It changed. You came out of the womb. You had a body. You are still in that. It changes. One day, the body, you leave the very body itself. The appearances keep changing. What is appearance? The cell changes into an infant body. That infant body changes into teenage body, and then adult body, middle-aged body, old-age body, diseased body, and then dead body. The appearances are changing. In and through all these appearance, there is you in that. That doesn't change. So, when you see, what are you seeing? What are you getting carried away by? Appearance. When you see something, what are you seeing? You see the appearance and you get carried away by the appearance. The knowledge says, see the reality, see the you. Where to find that you, God only knows. How to find that you? Very simple to say, see that you. How to see that you? Disassociate from the appearances. Slowly move away from the appearances. That process of moving away from the appearances is middle path, is tapas. That's what is known as middle path. That's what is known as tapas. Move away from the appearances. What will give you the conviction to move away from the appearances? For the appearances look so so real. What knowledge will give you the conviction? What will inspire you even to experiment with this? From where will you get the courage? From where will you get the conviction? The knowledge gives you this. The knowledge gives you the courage. Knowledge gives you the conviction. What is that? What you see is an appearance, not the reality. And the reality is not known. The appearances are known. The reality is not known. What makes it so interesting? Appearances. What makes the appearances so interesting, so appealing, that how much ever you hear about the reality, mind still doesn't accept it. What is it? You can hear it a million times. Instant pleasure. Desire. What is it? You can hear it a million times. All the time saying, it's not that you have not heard it before. It looks like something new, but nothing new. It's the same old thing. Why is it that the reality doesn't? The conviction to explore the reality. What is it that is lacking? Laziness, effort, knowledge. Correct. It's tapas. It's tapas that is lacking. We just want to sit and like a debate club we want to analyze. Debate club we want to understand the unreality of the world in an the unreality is attempted. The unreality you are trying to understand in the air conditioned. Yeah, tapas is lacking. You follow? Now, this tapas is what individually you can do. Two factors are required: knowledge and tapas. As far as the knowledge is concerned, we don't have to do anything, for it is already laid out so clear. It's already laid out so simple. Now you don't have to do anything as far as the knowledge part of it is concerned. But something has to be done from your side. What is it? Tapas. And what is tapas? The conviction to give up, the conviction, the experimentation. I don't even say conviction. The experimentation to give up your comforts and see how you are. The conviction. I don't want to use the word conviction also. Like to use the word just experiment, just to give up, give it up. You are willing to give it up for trading from one object to other object in the world. You are willing to give up. The mother, I know the mother here. Girl comes half an hour late. The girl comes half an hour late from 15 minutes late from the school. Half an hour late from the school. What a pressure, what an anxiety, what all? Why can't you leave the child for 1 hour? Sir, Abdullah Udamudaya, sir, so dangerous, this is so dangerous, this, so dangerous that. And the same mother goes shopping with the daughter to send her to America, where she absolutely has no control, no say, no clue to what the girl is going to do, and yet she will do that. Why? For what? Something from the world. Something from the world. Higher line. Not the higher higher line. Higher studies or lower studies. Higher. For 6 months, I asked him not to come for the class. He gives ulta answer for all the questions. What brings that? It's not that you are not willing to give up. You are willing to give up. But why you don't reap the benefits of the tapas? Why you don't reap the benefits of giving up? Because it is still traded for something inside the world only. That's why people say, I have also sacrificed. No, sir. I have also given. No. I have also done all that. No. If you have done all that, you should have been you should have been a Gautam Buddha by now. You should have been an enlightened person. Why? You are willing to give up as long as it is trading from one to the other. Where? Inside the world. So where lies the conviction? What? I asked that mother, after the girl went, I asked that mother, then she stopped talking to me. Abbada free, and that's to get rid of. Every week, oh, he is coming late, Jana cake mutton. I said, after 1 week she left. I said, I texted, first time I texted her. Normally I don't. I texted her saying, how is she? Anga yaar watchdog irukkranga ipo. Who is she going with? Who knows? What time she is waking up? Who knows? And yet they do that. For what? Same person, you say, experiment it here. They cannot. No one can. Why? No one can. You follow? Why? Because the convictions are still in the world. How much ever misery you go through, the mind still goes back to that. Almost kind of affinity to misery. Everyone says, I want to be happy, I want to be happy. Looks like, actually speaking, no one wants to be happy. Or if you are happy, you really do not know what to do. And at least if you are in misery, you will have something to do. You court something and ends up elsewhere. Middle part, the process of tapas is reverse it. Once a week, don't. They said no. Shivaratri. Once in 15 days it comes. Once in 15 days, don't sleep. Be awake. It's not that you be awake in the night and next day, the whole day, you sleep. Next day you have to continue to do whatever you are doing, but that night don't sleep. He said it. Simple experiments, that's all. Simple, very, very simple experiments. But lot of tapas is required if you have to master this. You follow? Another fantastic reversing the process. I am giving examples of reversing the process. The natural tendency is to keep talking. They said reverse it. Practice maunam. Ippolla practice maunam nu solli prayojaname illa. Because no one is talking, ella texting, chatting. So switch off the mobile once a week. Switch off the mobile and see what happens. What will happen? Shivering will start. Restlessness will start. Shivering will start. I remember, 20 years back, 30 years back, when newspaper comes late, the restlessness. Innu newspaper varla. What is the one day you don't get the newspaper? It's the same thing. It's not that something has changed today and only the WhatsApp and I don't know what all is only the problem. 30 years back, people were all living in peace and bliss. Something else was creating that. We'll be waiting at the gate, looking for the postman. And the postman crosses the house without delivering a letter. Immediately, letter in the fellow will say, if there is a letter addressed to you, I will give you. The fact that I am crossing your house means no. Immediately there is a the way the variety keeps, the way in which people experience, but in and through it is the same thing. What they did, they said reverse it. They said reverse it. What is reversing? Middle path means everything was put in a calendar and you have to live according to the calendar. Your days of indulgence is also fixed. Those are the festival days. Your days of abstinence is also fixed. Those are the days of Ekadashi, Shivaratri, whatever it is. All are fixed. It means your senses cannot do anything by itself. It cannot do anything by itself. It has to wait for that. Today it is exactly the opposite. Middle path means that. I am not saying go back to the Panchangam calendar, but nevertheless you need to do something which you can follow now. The formula is the same. The principle is what we are talking about. You follow? What is the principle? It's all. Everything is put in a calendar. Almost machine-like. Almost machine-like. Mechanical. We have to be. What is the opposite of being mechanical? We have to be spontaneous. Spontaneous na be impulsive. What is being spontaneous? Spontaneity is nothing but being. You use a good word and makes it look. You use a word, you decorate it and it appears fantastic. Ramatirtha gives this example, beautiful example he gives. He says, it's like decorating the dead body, he says. You can decorate the dead body and makes it look like alive. You can make the dead body wear a 3-piece suit and make it look alive, and yet it is, and the truth is, it's dead. The truth is, it is dead. What do you do? Every facet of life, middle path. I'm just trying to explain what is middle path. Reverse it. What is reversing? It means, if the senses by themselves demand something, say no to it, not every time. If you say no to it every time, In the previous verse, he has already said it. You will become a hypocrite, mityachara. Don't say no every time. That part he has already cleared it. Fix a date, fix a time, and say whatsoever it is on that day. You say you decide to fast. Next Thursday I will fast. From Tuesday you will start thinking about food. Normally you don't think about food so much, for it is there in the refrigerator then all the time. So anytime you want, you can have it. இல்லையா? ஸோ அது கூட வேணாம். ஒரு ஃபோனும் ஸ்விக்கியும் இருந்தால் போதும். இல்லையா? ஆப் இல்லையா? ஸ்விக்கி தானே அது. You just type that fellow. That fellow comes and delivers coffee also. இல்லை? நீங்கள் யாரும் ஃபில்டர்லாம் கொண்டு வருவாங்க. இல்லை? ஜெயந்திட்ட சொல்லுங்க. ஸ்விக்கி இருக்குது. ஃபில்டரில் கொண்டு வந்து கொடுக்குறது. You don't have to. If you say no every time, you start becoming a hypocrite. Mityacharasya chete. That's where in the previous verse he said, don't be that hypocrite. Don't keep saying no. You can say no and be miserable. Growth will not happen. Now, how to reverse it? Fix a date. Mind will not like that. Mind will say, I am ready to do in the day that I like to. Who are you to fix it? I have one aunt in my family. Her agitation starts from the month of July. It will peak in November, December, and in February it comes down. Because all the festival starts August. No, it starts. One after the, every 15 days, one thing or the other comes. And she has the list of, and the way she lists out and talks about it, you feel like telling her, just, oh, this will come, that will come, this will come, that will come. Idella yaar fix pannanga? Annikku pannadanga? Suddenly she will talk like an enlightened Buddha. She will talk like, not that she is enlightened, very can't do in the day that is fixed. Can't do in the day that is fixed. You will do it in the day when mind wants it. Today abdi pannalam. How can you? That is indulgent. The other extreme is abstinence, total abstinence. What is middle path? Middle path is nothing but a schedule, a fixed calendar, and see how much you are able to stick to that. When you do that, what happens? When you start living life like this, sa visishyate, he excels. Excellence comes. Excels means you get what you want. You achieve what you want. That's where verse number 7 we concluded. இல்லையா? அதோட தான் விட்டோம் இல்லையா? மறந்து போய்டுறது. லீவ் அடிக்கடி லீவ் வருது இல்லை. இப்போ ஏதோ ஒரு சாக்கு வச்சு லீவ் வந்துன்னு இருக்குது. Sa visishyate, he excels. How excellence comes? When you stick to a middle path is nothing but sticking to a schedule, sticking to a calendar. That's all it is. When you say fix a calendar, the mind will say, no, who are you to say? Who are they to say? அந்த காலத்தில் சொல்லிட்டு போயிட்டாங்க. அதெல்லாம் எப்படி இப்போ? How it will be practical? அதெல்லாம் எப்படி practical ஆகும்? So you at least fix your own calendar. You don't have to follow that calendar. Fix your own calendar. But first thing is, fix it. First thing is, fix it. When you fix it, you will know how much you are a victim of, the senses and the mind. Then only you will know. Tapas. That's why they say either you fix your own schedule and follow, or take the command of the Shastra and try and follow. Between the two, one. Personally, I will choose the second. I will not like to fix my own, because when I fix my schedule, how I will fix, I know. I will fix according to, nothing will be in that schedule. So nothing will happen out of that schedule. So I am not saying follow the schedule. Two choices you have. One is you fix your own, or follow that which is repeatedly it comes. Why they kept everything repeatedly? Carefully follow. That's why we call it scientific knowledge. The mind works cyclically. It's if you develop if you have that sharp intellect, you can almost predict when you will get angry, when you will get depressed. For it happens cyclically. You know, after a while you know. It's so mechanical in nature, so mechanical in pattern that it happens cyclically. How to break that? That's the bondage. How to break that bondage? Reverse it. How to break that bondage? Reverse it. If you are going in this direction, if you have to come back, what you have to do? You have to reverse. No, reverse it. That reversing is what is called as middle path. That reversing is what is known as tapas. Tapas is nothing but voluntarily courting pain. When everything is fine around you, when everything is all right around you, food is there, you are also hungry, and you say, no, one meal, if you skip, you are not going to. That capacity to put up with, that capacity to voluntarily court. When you voluntarily court, it is called tapas. Because of your wrong way of living, when misery comes, put up with it. That is called titiksha. Second chapter, if you remember, we did chapter 2. When we did chapter 2, we discussed that quality called titiksha. I remember 3 classes I spoke on that titiksha. At least I remember. I remember titiksha. Titiksha is you live life in a wrong way and difficulties come to you. What do you do with those difficulties? Instead of criticizing, complaining and running away, put up with it cheerfully. That is titiksha. Tapas is different. Slightly better than titiksha is tapas. What is tapas? Middle path. You court it voluntarily. You go and say, I will be in. Instead of misery coming to you, you say, I come to you. You say, I come to happiness and ended up in misery. They say reverse it. You court misery and see where you end up. And see where you land up. Don't worry, you will not land up in greater misery. Exactly the ulta happens. How? Because the paradox of, are you able to understand now? Paradox of appearance. Court happiness, you end up in misery. court misery, now you will not end up in greater misery. Kabir said, what is this courting misery? He says, keep all the critics as your neighbors, he said. He says, keep your critics as the neighbors, not the fellows who keep who are in agreement with you. Keep the critics as neighbors. Our தெரியல flat system வந்துரும். Now in a flat system, in the way that I have not moved into the apartment, even before moving to the apartment, the politics of the apartments started. Your car is parked in my parking, your dog comes here, my child goes there. Oh, what a... He says, Kabir says, reverse it. All the time you want to be with people who keep praising you, reverse it. Try and live with those who are criticizing you. Other than what they did, they said, get married. You know that, no? Serious, it's not. That's why they say, no love marriage, arranged marriage. What will happen? Constant. See, one person constantly telling you the reality, and how much you are able to accommodate that. How much you are able to take that. It's a wonderful experiment. You follow? It's not marriage, that reversing the process I am saying. Wonderful is that experiment they did. Kabir says, live with. Mind naturally likes to go to those who are in agreement with you. But very difficult is to live with those who are criticizing. Reverse it. Very many disciplines people have to reverse it. You follow? Sa visishyate. He accepts. That person accepts. See, there are some people who will not talk while eating, no? Some people have this discipline. They will not talk while eating. To most I will recommend that. Two problems are solved. You can't comment anything about the food. There. Uppu karam, uppu sarilla karam. You can't say anything, no. So whatever is there you have to eat. And if the person doesn't come and ask you, do you want more? You can't ask for more also. Yeah. What will you do? You have to quietly. Middle path is nothing but the natural tendency of the senses and the mind. You try and reverse and see what happens. Natural tendency of the senses is to go to the extremes. The natural tendency of the mind is to go to the extremes. What is middle path? Reverse it. What is reversing it means? Do not allow the senses to go into the extremes. Do not allow the mind to go to the extremes. Follow a fixed path. In English it's called discipline. In Sanskrit it's called tapas. English is called discipline. Philosophically he calls it as middle path. But all means the same. What is that? Fix a pattern. Sa visishyate. He accepts. That person know what it is to excel. When you live life like this, first don't be a hypocrite. From hypocrisy, come on to middle path. That is also an interim step only. What he wants us to do is going to come now. All that he is preparing us so that we can receive what he wants us to do. Adikinu varave illa. He is just preparing the ground. So much of explanation I am giving because when we come to hear what he is saying, definitely someone will be inspired to experiment at least. Okay, let us try. What is that? Artha verse.
Niyatam kuru karmatvam karmajayogya karmanaha sharirayatra vijate na prasiddheta karmanaha niyatam kuru karmatvam karmajayogya karmanaha sharirayatra vijate na prasiddheta karmanaha.
Perform your obligatory action. For action is superior to inaction. And even the maintenance of your body would not be possible by inaction. Middle path means, now theoretically understand. To some extent, your senses and mind are under control. You have followed the middle path. To some extent, you have achieved some control. Now starts the process. What is that? Niyatam guru karmatvam. Perform your obligatory action. Perform your obligatory action. For action is superior to inaction. For action is superior to inaction. That is very simple. Even the maintenance of your body would not be possible by inaction. This is not philosophy. This is a straightforward observation of life. But what is the message that he is giving? What is it that he is asking us to do? The starting point. Niyatam kuru karmatvam. Niyatam kuru karmatvam means perform your obligatory action. And this obligatory action they have divided into two. Nitya and Naimittika. Action means, life means only obligatory. You are matured enough to understand that. Theoretically, he has come to that point. Because you understand, the climax is next to us. What you have to do actually is going to give the thing only in the next verse. It's like the crescendo. He is just gradually building it up. Now he is saying, first he said, don't run away from action, just act. Simply avoiding action, you will be only a hypocrite. Instead of being a hypocrite, follow the middle path. Okay, I am following the middle path. Now what? Then perform your obligatory action. So sequentially he builds up the importance of obligatory action. Obligatory action is that which ought to be done. When it is said that which ought to be done means, what is implied here? The choice doesn't exist. The choice of not doing it doesn't exist at all. Then only this obligation. Number one. Number two. When it has to be done, not postponing it to later, tomorrow. It has to be done has to be done. Essential to dharma is obligation. The fabric, the basic backbone of dharma, the basic fabric of dharma is obligation. Today, that obligation itself is removed completely. The sense of obligation itself doesn't exist. It starts from the beginning that there is no need to be. The obligation doesn't exist at all. Why do you have to be obligated to your school teachers when you have paid the fees? Is obligation necessary? For they didn't teach you for free. Not only fees, donation la where he paid. Now, what is the need to be obligated? You follow? A weird logic we have to say that obligations are not necessary, needed. You go to the doctor, he removes the cataract, he says 50,000 rupees, you pay him. What is the need to be obligated? Opposite of that is, he always gives this example, where you sue the doctor that treats you. Doctor is scared of the patient, now how he will perform. Are you able to follow? If the teacher is scared of the student, how can they teach? Supposing if I am scared of you, you have to be. Now, how can it be done? Today, teachers are, I am talking even in a school, the teachers are scared of children. The doctors are scared to treat the. So, before they start treating you, they have to protect themselves first. Why? Why? We have lost the sense of obligation. What is losing the sense of obligation means? The arrogance and the ego is so strong that sense of obligation doesn't exist at all. Just reverse it. Even here, just reverse it. You will understand. Okay, someone comes and gives you the 50,000 rupees. Can you remove the cataract? Yeah, can you remove the cataract? You will think cataract somewhere in the stomach and you will cut open the stomach. Now you will not even know that it is in the eyes. That's how you reverse it. That's how you understand you are obligated. You follow? The fabric of dharma, the core of dharma, the essential feature of dharma is obligations, duties. He goes on saying, no, duty is not rights. Today is exactly the opposite. It's all rights. As a child, what is my right? What rights the children can have? Too tight? Too tight slap, that's all, to behave. Rights. You can't? Children's rights, students' rights, husband's rights, wives' rights, employees' rights, employers' rights. Everything is right, life is wrong. Everything is right. Life became completely wrong. For everyone complains of stress. Everyone complains of boredom. 5-year-old child also says getting bored. See, if a 85-year-old man says, I am bored, then it is understandable. 15-year-old child says, I am bored, then what do you do after that? You follow? The dharma, the basic fabric of dharma is obligation. Obligation means it ought to be done. You have no choice. Choice comes only, likes and dislikes brings this choice. I like to do, I don't like to do that which you like, avoid that which you don't like. Obligations in these things don't exist. In that, only freedom that is given is it a nitya or naimittika? Is it nitya karma or naimittika karma? That's the only freedom you have to decide. Obligations you can't say no to obligation. What you can choose is between the two. What is the two? Nitya and naimittika. The whole lot of Dharma Shastra evolved out of this Nitya and Naimittika. If you know this, the whole set of Dharma Shastra rose out of this Nitya and Naimittika. What is this Nitya Karma? Nitya Karma means regular routine duty. Naimittika means occasional special duty. Nitya karma means regular routine that comes every day. Naimittika karma means occasional special. You follow? In the way the society is today, what can be the Nitya Karma? I am not going to the details of what the Shastra talks as Nitya Karma, Naimittika Karma. That is totally, we have moved away so much from that. Even to discuss that is Nitya Karma means the 5 karmas. What they call as Deva Yajna, Pitru Yajna, Rishi Yajna, and then Manushya Yajna, Bhuta Yajna. These are the Nitya Karmas. Naimittika Karma is that which comes once in 2 weeks. When that karma comes, you don't do this. That's why mechanically people do it. Some of the families, after they do the Shraddha ceremony, they'll do the Brahma Yajna. Shraddha is occasional special duty. Brahma Yajna is the Nitya Karma. When there is a conflict between the Nitya and Naimittika, what you have to do? The Nitya goes behind and the Naimittika comes first. This is how book flight is done. Now forget all that. For we don't even know. All that is completely lost. So but the concept is still, the concept of Nitya and Naimittika is still relevant. So what we have to do now, we have to find out what is Nitya Karma and Naimittika Karma in the context of the way that we are living today and stick to that. Can't make a list today for very fact that the list is made, Nale, the ego says, the very fact that the list is made and said, do this, Nale, resistance. To an extent where someone comes and says, I like this. How many meals will you be able to cook the same thing? Once, twice, third time you will say, third time? அதே போர் அடிக்கிறது. You get bored. You follow what I am saying? But the other likes it. No, I am bored of doing it. So, for you to overcome your boredom, others have to be sacrificed. You follow what I am saying? Every facet of life, we have moved away from that. We have moved away from the conviction to follow a list given by someone else. We are not able to do that. You follow? At least make your list. Whatever list you can, make it. That becomes your obligatory action. Whatever list you make, that becomes your obligatory action, and stick to that. You are still following the dharma. Not necessarily that you have to do that which is right down there. For it worked for that generation. It will not work for this generation. For it has changed. We don't have to go back to that same old bullock cart way of doing things. It has changed. But concept doesn't change. What is the concept? What is the concept? Do your obligations. At your level, you know what your obligations are. You know. Stick to niyatam kuru karmatvam. It's so musical it is. That's the word. Niyatam kuru karmatvam. Perform your obligatory actions. Why these verses are very important? Because rarely you will get to hear a direct advice from Krishna. Rarely you will get to hear. He always speaks the language of try it, maybe. Rarely he says something direct. Here is a verse where he says something directly. Niyatam kuru karmatvam. Niyatam kuru karmatvam. Someone makes a list for you. Be grateful to that man. For in your welfare he has made that. He has made the list not for himself. For your welfare he has made that list and given to you. At least have that minimum thing to what? Follow. When you are doing that, you are doing what is known as obligations. If you have to follow, you should respect that person. Then only you can follow. If you are not following, it is very obvious. That's all. It's as simple as that. If you have to follow, it means when will you be able to follow? Only when you have some. When looking up to happens. When respect happens. When individually everyone is looking up to himself or herself. Where the standard of life is only himself or herself. Where will anyone follow? Where is the time for anyone to follow that which is said by someone else? But nevertheless, set a pattern. Set a few actions that you have to do. The moment you decide that becomes your obligations. You have the freedom before you set it. After setting it, you have no choice. That is level number 1. Level number 2 is from the day you are born, you are receiving. Therefore, don't worry about fixing a chart, this, that. You have already received. You have already indebted. So, as early as possible, as soon as possible, start performing your obligations. That is level number 2. Level number 1 is keep aside your preferences, likes and dislikes, and make a start. Follow that. But then that's not that's level number 1. You have to step up to level number 2. What is level number 2? Even before you came into existence, the world came into existence to provide sustenance to you. It's not that you came first and then you created the world. Therefore, as you entering only, you have the entry itself, you have become, at the entry point itself, you have become obligated, indebted. For the world was in existence even before you came into existence. It means everything was ready before you. And all that you did is what? As soon as you entered, you started taking. You started taking. And not even knowing that. Khalil Gibran says, and you are all takers, he says. And you are all in that joy of giving, he says, you are all takers. I have never, I have never borrowed anything from loan. I have given loans and I have written it off also. So, where is it that I am? Level number 2. When you have understood that you are indebted, it will not sit on you as a burden. It will sit on you as gratitude. If indebtedness sits on you as a burden, you have not understood it correctly. If indebtedness sits on you as a burden, if father and mother sits on you as a burden, what to do? That's all it is. You follow? If you give example, it becomes easy to follow. If they themselves sits on you as a burden, after that, unnecessarily you produce children and they sit on you as a burden, what to do after that? You follow what I am saying? So, indebtedness will not sit on you as a burden. Indebtedness, duties, obligations will sit on you not as a burden. How it will sit on you? Gratitude. It sits on you out of thankfulness. When thankfulness comes in, tapas becomes easy. When thankfulness has entered, tapas becomes easy. Whether you like it or not, whether you prefer it or not, you will continue to do. You follow? Beautiful is this verse. The second part of the verse is very simple. Even the maintenance of your body will not be possible through inaction. Looks like he's a physiotherapist. You go to physiotherapy, he will say the same thing. Keep moving. That's not what he is talking about. Look at the first sentence. Niyatam kuru karmatvam. Tvam, you. Kuru karma. What? Tvam, you. Karma kuru. What? Obligation. Don't do any other action. Next verse is the climax. For all other actions binds you. For all other action binds you. That's what the intellectual appeal for action. Remember, intellectual appeal for action, intellectual appeal for obligatory action, not desired an action, not to go on, not for action to go on not selfish and self-centered actions. Anyway, everyone is not doing that. Anyway, everyone is practicing, mastered also. So when he says karma means appeal, intellectual appeal for action means what you need to understand. In the very first class I said, action means within brackets you have to understand it as obligatory. Either you fix it or someone fixes it. If you have an intellect, it will fix it for you. Since we don't have an intellect, we borrow the intellect of the wise man, the Shastras, the enlightened masters. They fix it and we follow. But the ego says, அவங்களுக்கு என்ன சார் தெரியும்? How will they know? I only know my situation. சும்மா அவங்க பாட்டில் they will say something which is totally impractical, and how can we sit and do other? Okay, use your existing intellect and make a list. அப்படிலாம் கூட இருக்கக்கூடாது. Vedanta only says we have to live spontaneously, no? We have to live in the present, no? We have to live in this, no? All that means what? Do your obligations. Niyatam kuru karmatvam. For if you are not doing your obligatory actions, you are inactive. This we don't understand. We think we are acting. This is where the knowledge of life. Some wise man is needed to guide us. For when we are not doing our obligatory action, what you are doing? We have slipped into inaction. We don't understand that. We think we have replaced it with maybe not a higher action, but some action. That's where he says, for action is superior to inaction. For action is superior to inaction. He's not talking about the physical action. It means that also, but it means something deeper. Physiotherapy advice kudukkradhukku we don't need Krishna to come and give this advice. Get up and move your limbs, do forward bend, do backward bend. We don't need. For action is superior to inaction. What is action? Obligatory action. What is inaction? Not performing obligatory action. What? I said it as useless action. Zero action is impossible, for you will be acting all the time. So the choice is what? Obligatory action or otherwise. The opposite. If you are not doing your obligatory action, be clear that you are not doing for inaction. Inaction means tamasic state, getting deeper and deeper into ignorance. Doing the obligatory action of fighting is going to be painful to Arjuna. What is the solution that he has found out? What is the solution he found out? Doing that obligatory action is painful. What is the solution according to Arjuna? Escape, run away, don't do. That's the solution that Arjuna comes up with. Krishna comes up with a different. He is coming up with a different solution. You follow? That's the contrasting dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna said, obligatory action is painful. What is the solution? Take up that which is what they call as the path of least resistance. No? They always, that is the nature of tamasics. It tends to take the path of least resistance. Least resistance, no resistance. Path of least resistance. Krishna comes and says, do the opposite. What is it? However painful it is, die doing it, Arjuna. But for in that death, something something extraordinary happens, which he has already said. Try doing that. If he has understood it, he would have started the fight. The fact that he didn't start the fight means he has not yet understood. Now he is continuing the same conversation. You follow? Niyatam kuru karmatvam. Do your obligation. For action is superior to inaction. Inaction means doing actions which is not obligation. Obligation means that which you have indebted to, that which you have received. And this knowledge that you have received will not sit on you as a burden, but sits on you as thankfulness, gratitude. Otherwise, obligation becomes a burden. ஐயோ எப்போ பார்த்தா பர்மனண்டா கலங்கார மாதிரியே இருக்குது. Where are we giving? That's not that. A sense of gratitude. சரியா? இல்ல